What's going on, people? This is another great installment of the film review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And we review culture in movies, music, politics, and society. And we have a few great selections to talk about today. The first is Widows. Then we're talking about the new Mariah Carey album called Caution, and the new Creed 2 soundtrack, which really, if the movie is anything like the soundtrack, everyone's gonna be very satisfied with the piece.
Yep.
So let's pull out of here first. Let's get to getting on the road. So, Widows, starring Viola Davis, Michelle Rodriguez, and two other people. We'll say that. Also, there's an all-star cast in it, and it's directed by Steve McQueen. You know Steve McQueen from, what's that movie called? Moonlight?
No, well, no. I'll look
not Moonlight. No, Moonlight. 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
That's right. We know Steve McQueen from 12 Years a Slave. And
You have to excuse me. I'm moving in slow motion today. I am under the weather, but I just picked up my wellness juice with tons of vitamin C. So hopefully that should kick in soon. The cast of Widows. Liam Neeson has been, the star of Viola Davis. Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Rodriguez, Daniel Kaluuya, Colin Farrell, Cynthia Erivo, John Bernthal, Brian Tyree Henry, we know him from Atlanta, Robert Duvall, Carrie Coon, Manuel Garcia Rulfo. So it was an all-star cast. They did an excellent job. It was a great movie.
And we've already reviewed a movie with the young lady who starred in El Royale.
Oh yeah.
And so her,
Cynthia Erivo, right?
So her character in this is very pivotal. So let's run down the plot line. You've seen the trailer, so there's no mystery. The husband and his team die in a heist. Their van explodes, and it's up to Viola Davis's character to put this team together to collect, to be able to get money, to be able to pay off
her husband's debt.
Her husband's debt.
Right.
We're
not gonna tell too much.
Yeah, we're not gonna tell the story, but I mean that's in the preview. So when you see it, you see the preview. So basically, that's what it is. It's a crime heist.
Yeah.
Action.
Would it be
drama.
A thriller also, or there's definitely a twist in it.
I will say yes, it is a thriller. It's a combination of things, because there is a twist in it that is unexpected, that's hinted to.
Excellent.
About halfway into the film. Now,
yes,
we've talked about filmmaking and being able to break the rules of how films should start, initiating an event, all that, going into the dramatic need and all that. So Steve McQueen moves time along in this picture by creating flashbacks as well as what's happening in real time, right? So when you open, you see that the heist is going on, but at the same time it flashes back to the relationship between the two main characters, Viola Davis's character and Liam Neeson's character. And after that, then it begins to take the first 10 minutes of the film to introduce you to the additional widows' husbands in flashback while things are happening in real time on screen. Beautiful filmmaking. Steve McQueen is definitely pushing and cutting edge as far as how to tell a story in the film. So the setup isn't slow. So in the first 10 minutes you learn everything about the characters, and you see the action happening, and you see the explosion, and then the movie kicks off from there, because that's the initiating event with the explosion. And then the dramatic need arises when the person who's running for office approaches Viola Davis's character and lets her know that she owes some money, you know, because you don't steal from me, and if you didn't know, too bad. Your husband stole from me, now I need my money. And this is what it is. Now, the acting in the film, superb. The use of extreme close-up, big head, medium shot, wide shots in it to tell the story in the various angles that Steve McQueen shot in. Him and his cinematographer most definitely worked together. No, there's no shame in people who want to do different businesses to reach out to people who may have more knowledge or more experience in doing something. If you're a director and you need a cinematographer to be able to tell the story of what you're saying, then you work together in collaboration. If you're a cinematographer and you're good with angles, but you need a director to be able to direct actors, then that's what you get, and you work together along with the actor to bring this out. Now, I'm not saying that in Steve McQueen's case, but I'm just saying that in general. If that's what it is, it's called collaboration. Film is a collaborative effort between various people. And the collaborative effort in this film shows in the film. I mean, it's amazing the way that the story is told, the cinematography, the color of scenes, I would tell you this. Stories are told through the world that you see the character in, right? And so,
Chicago played a major role. Like, you see the skylines of things, but we're talking about the individual worlds of the people. Each person in the film had the initiating event was the death of all the men, but the dramatic need for each one, each character had a dramatic need, right?
And so that's what made it an ensemble cast, and then they come together to create the outcome that happens in the film. Okay, so it's just I can't say enough about the way the story is told.
What I liked about the movie is, like, besides like the cast, I mean, they did an excellent job. I love how all of the secondary characters, like the extras, like even all of the extras in the film were on point. Like, for example, when you went out to the community, right? And you saw some of the people in the community who were, you know, engaged in speaking with, like, the politician, and there was a scene in the barber shop, and a few of the ladies in the shop, you know, they said a few things, and the backdrop of, like, Chicago just, like, bled, like, throughout the film. Like, not only did you see what was going on with the main characters, you learned about what was happening within the community. And so the community also played a major part in this film. And then, like you said, you see the skyline and everything.
There's one interesting scene where there is a conversation going on in a limo.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was good.
And
that was different.
And Steve McQueen chooses to show you the neighborhood, and the camera swing on it, where it it takes you. In film, you use the camera swing to change over to another world, and this is what he does beautifully in this picture. There's a conversation going on in the limo, but you never see the two people talking. You hear it, and you see the limo driving, and you see how the neighborhood changes just 1 block away. It moves from 1 block away and moves to the next block, and it's like, you know, plushness versus, you know, and this is where the person, Colin Farrell's character, lives. And there's another plot going on. There's another dramatic need between the two characters because they're running for office. And so you'll see that in the film. I mean, I can't say enough about the film. There is a big twist in it. And there is character arc in every character in the film. There's a character arc. Viola Davis goes from not being knowledgeable to becoming knowledgeable about things. Each woman was basically a kept woman, you know, to different degrees. And so you will like this film, and I can't tell you everything, but you have to go see this film. This should, you know, it should come out to be in the top films this week coming up.
Yeah, because the theater was packed.
Yeah, and it was it moves from the very beginning. I give thumbs up to Steve McQueen as far as his ability to move the picture. So now we talked about it's this mechanism here. I don't know why it's doing it, but it's, you know, it's saying you can't hold an iPhone. But anyway, listen.
And we have to, like, because I was asking you yesterday, I've seen Viola Davis in like multiple films, and I asked, was this her first time being like the lead of a film, right? And she did an excellent job. She is definitely a huge money maker, you know, in
a draw.
A huge draw.
Yeah, her, Denzel.
Yeah.
As soon as Denzel put her in the movie with him.
Yeah, Fences.
Yeah. Well, she was the lead there.
Yeah.
Right?
She was, but I mean, this one, it was her.
It's all her.
It's all her.
It's all her. It's most definitely, it's all her.
Yeah.
So we've been through and we told you about the action and how the film sets up, and we're not going to go any further into that. So let's talk about the politics in the film. The politics in the film, Steve McQueen has a way of weaving this story where it's not hitting you in the head, but it's just describing what's happening, the disparities in the neighborhood. Well taught. There's a storyline about Liam Neeson's character and Viola Davis's character, son.
Yeah.
Who
we don't know.
Who has a bad situation happen to him.
Right. So we don't know.
And you know, so you have to see that. So everything that is happening that has to do with classism, racism,
right,
politics,
right,
everything is there. Sexism, everything is in this picture. And I can tell you this, I was telling you that stories are told and the world around it tells a story. If you look at Viola Davis's character, when you look at where she lives, she's living, the message in it is she's living an all white life. All right, and so when you see that, you'll see what I'm talking about as far as that's concerned. So the political slant, the social economical slant in it, the writing, the space of time used to tell the story, to set the story up in the first 10 minutes, how that was done, the dialogue between the characters, there's some high acting.
It is high acting. I love, speaking of what you were saying as far as like the messages in the film, I love the scene where Brian Tyree Henry, when he says to Viola Davis, what did he say? Welcome home.
Welcome home. See, and that was a wake up call that you try to forget, but you can't. And also the acting between Colin Farrell and him at the office, at his campaign office, that was sitting up. That was some Brando Pacino.
Yeah,
it really was. They were definitely working out and arcing the characters in a discussion of who they were and what they were expecting from one another, and then you put into effect his brother sitting on the sidelines.
Daniel Coogler, his acting.
Oh my
God.
and
the brother in the scene. Yeah, he was in the scene too, sitting there.
Yeah, he was looking, and then it brings up everything because the wife of Colin Farrell's character is sitting there looking at him, and he's just been an antagonist, just getting at her, and it has him ask a question, and then the debate in the car, the discussion in the car between the husband and wife, while you're seeing the change of the neighborhood from desolate to plush.
I think she was his campaign.
No, that was his
assistant.
wife.
That was the wife.
That was the wife too. She was also campaign assistant, but that was his wife. That's why they were arguing. So that right there, the discussion between them, beautifully, the writing, excellent. Duvall. Sitting there talking to Colin Farrell in the office.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking, but go ahead. As if the curtain was actually pulled. If you can sit in the office of a lot of these like politicians who come into the community, what they say in front of the cameras versus what they really say behind the cameras when the door is closed. Like that conversation between Colin Farrell and Dennis Hopper regarding that community in Chicago that they serve was
riveting.
Yes.
And there's a part in there that made me go woo, and it made Duvall's character say woo.
Right.
And, I mean, it's just.
And a woman sitting next to me was like, woo.
Right, so I mean, it was heavy. I mean, it is Oscar worthy.
Yeah.
It is Oscar worthy. You have to give it to him, and I don't know if he's in the running. Because all these films are supposed to be in the running.
Should because I swear it's like it's got to be the best movie that I've seen. In a while.
Get over.
Like with the cast, like just like the acting, like just in the previews before we saw the movie, I said his brother's name was Jedmay in the film, but Daniel Kaluuya, just in the trailer, like his whole demeanor. And I said, and
wait until you see that full
acting.
Wait until you see that full scene played out, though.
Yeah,
and you're gonna be like, oh my.
Because in the trailer alone, he killed it in the trailer. So, but when you see the film, you just like acting his ass off. He's a good actor. He's one like the character that he played in this film was different than his character. Like mannerisms and everything, and what's it? Get Out.
And Get Out too. Yep, that's right. Yeah. Totally different.
So like totally different. Like he just took on a whole
new demeanor.
His acting is.
And there's a scene with him in the car where he's following Viola Davis around, and you see, all of a sudden you see that he's there wherever she's going to try to figure out this mystery, because it is a mystery too at the same time of why this actually happened. So it's a suspense, thriller, mystery, action. But there's a scene where I talk about how some things are subliminal and told to you through action and not necessarily on the nose dialogue. We talked about that when we were speaking on the other film, River Runs Red, and I said some things are just on the nose, but there's a scene where you hear something happening in his car, and then you hear him just say a few words, and that lets you know that he's planning on doing something that his brother's not expecting. And you will see that when you see the film. So it's real good. So we went over, we've hit quite a few points here. So let's go over. So let's see. We talked about politics. We talked about the social economic. We talked about the film structure, the film grammar, the angles, the acting, the script writing, the direction, the
costume. We left that out. Like Viola Davis, like throughout the movie, what did I say? Like her changing her out, she looks beautiful. Oh, look at the outfit. Oh, look at her makeup, just looks nice. She was on point. She was extremely stylish in this film. Her jewelry, just like everything.
And so let's see what
Afrocentric.
Yeah, she's Afrocentric.
I love
even though the discussion was put in the film concerning people who are trying to be upper echelon. The whole discussion that is talked about in the conscious community about black women being with white men, that's in the picture. You know what I'm saying? So it's well, and it's described, and it's well placed, and you will enjoy it. So we went through all that. What would you rate the film?
I would definitely give it like a 10, like across the board. I mean, it's just, I don't know, the film, beyond the characters in the film, like the backdrop, like just the jewelry, like in the scenes, like I was saying, she had on these earrings that I hadn't seen before, really beautiful, like these Afrocentric, like earrings, just stylish. It was just excellent. Like the film was just excellent all across the board, just like everything from the acting to the dialogue to the backdrop, the city of Chicago, just like the community. You can tell that they use like a lot of extras like within the community, which is always a plus to include the community in your film. And so
intricate part of the film.
Yeah, so just across the board, like 10. Like the acting was just on point. Like these actors were really, they gave 100%. They brought it. You can tell that they were like involved, happy to be there, and they really brought it.
That's right. They brought it through.
Yeah.
I like to tell Viola that a lot of black couples came in the movie to see the film.
Tons.
That's right, they came to see it, and the women's reactions to what was happening on the screen, not necessarily the greatest of positivity, but they loved your acting. Still the same. We just want to let you know that. And
well, the sisters don't like to see.
Yeah, we don't like to see.
Nobody picking with or pissing off Viola. No,
right. So
I mean, people were engaged and engrossed in the film. So, and as far as Michelle Rodriguez, I know she was talking about black people getting their own superheroes. Well, we do have that, and I noticed that every film that you're in is usually someone black who is, got you there in the first place. And whatever film it is in, it seems like it's a black person that's really got you there, and not necessarily the European Americans necessarily, though European Americans back it, but usually the person who's casting you is usually a black person. So, we want to say that, and we don't know where the disconnect is, but wake up, sister, wake up. But anyway, so I'm going to give this, let me tell you, the breakout star in this is the brother and the driver. Daniel,
right? And the woman, I really can't stomach her just because of the role that she played in the Forgotten, or what was that?
Yeah, on HBO.
On HBO, which they had the craziest ending to that show.
Right.
What is that show called? The Left Behinds, or the Leftovers. The Leftovers.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that right there, I mean, the person, her acting in it, she plays the fourth wife who seems to be aloof from all the rest. And then you find out that there's some treachery going on
It's worth seeing, so we don't want to.
So I mean, but you find out that there's
it.
something going on.
Yep.
So go there, you will see it. You will be stunned. You will be shocked. This is worth seeing. I would say this is worth going to the theater and see for those who. What's up to the people who are in Millie Mills, Dame Diz, Howard, Alexander? What's going on to you? For those who usually watch their movies at home, take the opportunity to take the family, the wife, or get a group of people and go see this movie. It is well worth it to go see this movie, and you will enjoy this movie.
And then the music real quick before.
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Let me tell you. Let me say this, and then we'll talk about the music. Okay, the music in it is part of the world. The music that is used in it, from the score to the word to the established artists that they have in it. It really builds this movie. It's placed in the right places. You will enjoy this film. What about you and the music?
Oh yeah, the music was really great. It fit every scene. He did a really good job matching it up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll give it a 10.
Yeah.
This is a 10. Now, so go see Widows. That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Starring Viola Davis.
Excellent.
Liam Neeson.
Like, the trailer is great, but it doesn't give it any
the trailers these days get you so that you will go to the movie,
but you have to go
there.
see it.
But you have to go
see it. I mean, just with in the movie they play, brothers, right? Tyree from Atlanta and Daniel, we know him from Good Out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, they act their ass off. And so just the scenes with them, and then them being in the community, and I mean, you got to go see it. Widows is good. I mean, it's an excellent film.
Right.
Excellent film.
So that's 10. So now we're gonna talk about Mariah Carey's new album called Caution.
Yes,
Now, let me say this. When I first heard it, and when we were listening to it to review it, I didn't know exactly who it was, so I had to ask my wife, because she had said, I'm going to listen to Mariah Carey's, we're going to review it. Make sure that you get Tidal, because Tidal has all the new hits. It's black owned, Jay-Z, Beyonce, you know what I'm saying, building that thing. Make sure you get Tidal. Go ahead.
Well, Mariah's been doing a lot of interviews lately, and she did one on Hot 97 with Nessa. So I listened to the interview. I said, well, let me listen to her album.
Mm-hmm. And so make sure you can also get all of Crazy D's music on Tidal. You can go there, the instrumentals, the rap, all that is on Tidal also. So listen. So I was sitting there because I was doing some editing, and I was listening, and I was like, who is this again? Mm-hmm. And then she said, it's Mariah Carey. So, I'm used to hearing Mariah Carey in the higher registers, and going with those high notes. And so at first I thought I was hearing Monica singing. I really did think that it was Monica, and I was like, is this Monica? And I just had to say it because I thought that that's who I was hearing was Monica, right? And kind of find out it wasn't Monica. It was, of course, Mariah, because I felt like I kind of heard some things that could be something that Monica would perform, right? So it wasn't. So I was surprised at that, because everything, her tone, because she brought her octaves down. That's what they said they did with Whitney.
Right.
And we have to give people who sing a lot of credit, because to entertain us, they tear up their vocal cords, in the process of going through and having to sing even while they're sick. They still have to go on stage. And so Mariah Carey's vocal cords, as what she once was in the 90s, is not. And she took a page from out of Whitney, because they lowered her tone and brought her octaves down so that she could still sing the same songs, but it would be at a lower tone, and she could deliver those notes. So Mariah Carey has brought down her octaves, and even in one of the songs in the back, because they have you know, tracking. People who are into music, they know that there's multiple tracks and backtracking and back vocaling and all that, and adding the effects and things. And in one of the songs, in the back, bent to the left, I believe, you hear her do a high note, but it's almost as if it's saying, it's just saying so that she doesn't have to hit it in concert. It's like saying farewell to that particular Mariah Carey. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, because she's you can tell, like in certain songs, like she'll still hit those like high notes and stuff, because she's letting you know, I can do this.
But they're in the back,
right? She's
so
letting
that she doesn't necessarily have to hit it.
That she can do this, but she's learned to play with her vocals. So you hear her doing other things, and in Whitney's case, you know, Whitney didn't have a choice, because we know, because of the drugs and everything, it destroyed her voice. But in Mariah's case, on her album, she lets you know, I can still do this. My vocals are fine, but I've learned how to do other things to save my voice. Save
her voice, so she can have longevity,
right,
and keep putting out albums. Because doing those tricks like Minnie Riperton, even Minnie Riperton did it at the end of the song. Right. She didn't do it all throughout the song. Right. So you know, certain handlers and things, they will push you to do things, and don't even care, because they're not the talent. They don't have to sustain and keep going and doing it. So you know, it was like so I was listening to the vocal, and I said, this is like different for her, because it wouldn't even seem like Mariah. Like I said, it seemed like Monica. And it's like when you're used to hearing people when they came out in the 90s, and you hear them again, just like Brandy is on Stars now, on Star now. And if you're not watching Star and you're not watching the other one, Empire, you are missing out. Star is a religious-based storyline, masked as, you know, what it as ratchetness, but it's actually a religious-based storyline. You know, it goes back to the earliest traditions of black storytelling in film. You know, Oscar Micheaux. You know, but anyway, Brandy is in there, and they had a part where she thinks, but then she thinks, and it turns into a song routine. And we were listening to the vocal, and I said, wow, they're not mixing her vocal like I'm used to hearing her. It sounded a little airy and a little cold. And usually Brandy's vocals are usually warm. You know, they're usually hot. Like one of my favorite songs by Brandy is Everybody Knows Almost Doesn't Count. Like when I first saw that video, I'm sitting there mesmerized as they're telling the story, as she's moving through, getting to her destination where she's gonna be. And it's just a mesmerizing video, on her vocals on that. If you've never heard Almost Doesn't Count, you have to go hear that record. That is one of her premier best. You know, I put that up there against anyone's. The story, what it's talking about. Brandy, Almost Doesn't Count. But back to Mariah Carey now. Like I said, Mariah Carey brought her octaves down. She's doing her thing in it, and we have some songs that, you know, stand out. I was listening, and I was just jotting down, because most of the time when the person keeps repeating in the chorus or in the hook or in the break, if they keep on repeating something, it's usually what the name of the song is. So I picked out some songs that I liked. You know, number 3, One More Again. Number 4, I'm Not. Make Me Wanna. Number 5, 6, Where Do I Go? Love Is, I don't know what exactly number that was, I was just jotting it down. And Proceed with Caution, which is the title track from the album. So automatically she has 10 tracks on the album. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then Distance is 7. So if you have 7 or 8 songs out of a 10 track album, I mean, you have a success right there. But there was one song that the title of it seems like the title of it was No. And when I heard it, I said, no. And then I said, first thing that my wife started
It's called
laughing.
A No No.
And then she said, but it's called A No No. But I was like, no. And then she kept saying no in it.
Right.
And then I said, how it's called? No, because they use a sample. And it's a sample that is used. And I know it's giving homage to the artist that passed on. But when you hear it so often and so much, and you like, no, I don't care to hear that sample anymore. But you will hear the song, and you
Great
probably
song.
will like it because they are giving homage, you know. And you know, sometimes homage is good, but we talked about like how Nas stays true to Queens and the beats that he chooses, and then not necessarily like what Jay-Z does, which does he picks universal beats that go globally as well as in every neighborhood outside of the tri-state. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Oh yeah, speaking of that, I want to shout out to Method Man, because Method Man is kicking some heavy lyrical foundation of hip hop. I can tell you, he's kicking it. I mean, cold. You know what I mean? He's got to do it. He's doing it, and I would like to see him and dude from The Roots do an album together. I think that would be incredible. So okay, so we talked about that.
Flow.
Yeah, so you want to say hello to all the people who are watching.
And
so,
well,
go ahead.
Where are you going, Creed now?
Yeah. No,
but
go ahead,
before
go
you
ahead.
finish Mariah Carey's album, because it's been a while since I really gravitated towards anything like this album. I like it as much as I like her Mimi album, because this album, she's working with various producers, so it's kind of giving you a feel of different spices. Like she's still doing the writing, of course, you know, which is great, and then but she's also working with different producers, which is real good because it freshens up her sound a lot. Like my favorite song is number 5, The Distance, and it's her and Ty Dolla $ign. And then she also has a song with Slick Rick and Blood Orange. She also has Gunna on there. That's a good song. Stay Long, Love You. And then she's also working with Timberland. I heard Timberland in one of the songs. So her album from beginning to end you can play, and Mariah Carey did like an excellent job. So I listened to the album, and while I was working, you know, after listening to various interviews, because I'm like, Mariah Carey's doing all these interviews, and I'm like, she seems really happy. I said, let me listen to this new album. And I was like pleasantly surprised. And a few minutes ago, so I was looking up her album just to make sure I, you know, got a few titles of her song correct. And it popped up like reviews, and she's getting all of these like great reviews for this album. So I'm like, okay, it's not just me. Her album is good. Her album is good. So just like, I was just like really proud of that. Like you could tell she's in a better place too, personally. But this album is really good. So Creed.
And you know what? We gotta rate it. First.
Oh,
Let me say this.
10.
And she's gonna be able to get on stage and perform these songs without needing to strain her vocal cords. And I believe that this is the album that takes her forward, where she might not necessarily have to perform the classic songs, because these songs are going to turn into a new classic, a new era for her in 2018 to propel her forward. So I see that happening.
This is a soulful album with like nice beats and hits. And nice.
It's soulful. It's very soulful.
They good producers.
So what would you rate it?
A 10.
Yeah, I give it a 10 also. Now, the Creed 2 soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Creed 1
produced by
okay, go ahead.
Will. He produced a lot of people's stuff.
Will I Am?
No, Will Made It.
Will Made It. Okay, right. Now,
Mike Will Made It.
Mike Will Made It. Now, the soundtrack. Now, Creed 1. Phenomenal film. Creed 2 releasing the soundtrack before the film. This goes back to the classic days in the 90s, you know, where you would hear the soundtrack come before Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, all of these soundtracks came out before the film and went along with the film. Love Jones soundtrack. Matter of fact, Love Jones soundtrack propelled the film to go back into the theaters because they thought it was a lost cause, but people had bought the soundtrack so much that it generated interest in the film and thus propelled the film back into being a classic, right? Where people actually went to the theater. It's the same. This is the same thing.
Love Jones, right? And then did we say Love and Basketball? That soundtrack,
Love and Basketball.
That Maxwell song.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tons of soundtracks. Just like even what is it? Saturday Night Fever.
Mm-hmm.
Panther soundtrack was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Produced by Kendrick Lamar did that soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Just tons of like that Booty Call soundtrack was nice too, because it had that Too Short and Little Kim Call Me on there, as well as a lot of other stuff. So soundtracks can really drive a film. Yeah.
And so this leads you into the story is told through the music. Yeah. And it leads you into going to the theater to see the film. Now, anyone who saw Creed 1, phenomenal film, picked up, like we've spoke before, corrected the era of the first Rocky, which was using Rocky to be the great white hope against a character that was like Muhammad Ali. That's what they said. And so that like kind of corrected the wrong as far as that was concerned. And like I had said before in another podcast of the film review, the director brought out in Stallone some of the best acting opposite Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan.
Opposite him that I've ever seen him do in a film.
Right.
Usually his films are action, so it's not necessarily that much. And even in Rocky, he was just a young actor, and then in the second, he just stayed in character. But this, he has to stretch because he is a person who was a boxer, right? And he has regret, and he has to bring all that, and he brought that out of him in a direction. So give it to Stallone. He deserved the Golden Globe for what he did with that. So Creed 2, from the trailer, they have 2 trailers that actually ran in the theater yesterday.
Back
it's
to
like
back.
Back to back. Well, not back, but they spaced them out. But it had to be about like 20 trailers before it got to the film, because they knew that this film was going to be a hot movie for people to see. That was
the first time I had ever like seen that, because like maybe the second trailer was the first Creed, and then they throw in a bunch of other films.
Well, Creed 2, it was the first Creed 2 trailer that we saw.
And then towards the end, like right before they started the Widows movie, like they showed another Creed trailer, and I looked over to D and I'm like, didn't we just see Creed earlier? Trailer? But it was a different trailer. So I said, they're really pushing this film, which is good. So November the 21st, Thanksgiving, definitely.
For those who don't know what I'm doing, as you see, I'm manipulating light to give us lighting, and you see this now. You see, get with me, I'll give you great lighting. But anyway, listen. So Creed is going to be a big movie, and we're going to see that first before we go see Green Book.
Yeah, we'll see that.
We'll see that second after we see Panther, and then we'll be giving you the review on that. Right. Now, there are certain songs in Panther that I wanted to talk about, but I don't know where I put the paper. My piece of paper just disappeared. And this is what happens when you have live action.
Well, while you're looking,
go ahead.
One of the Monster soundtrack, great artists, like a couple of favorite songs on the soundtrack. The Kendrick Lamar of Pharrell song, which is, they're pushing that right now. The single is out. Mantra, which is great. Then you got Nas and Rick Ross on the song together.
Now stop right there.
Called Cheat.
Stop right there.
Check.
Nas and Rick Ross. This is a classic hip-hop record. Yeah. This is going down as one of the classic hip-hop records. Yeah. The flow on it,
and the music is
the
smooth,
sample,
just like most of Rick Ross's music is just
Rick Ross is the best at taking the classic soul music, his producers, his ear. He likes to take it there, and that's the type of hip hop that I most gravitate to, is the one that has the music and the person that's kicking the lyrics over it, and it's undeniable. Anyone who knows the early stuff that I was producing, it was more like that. It didn't sound like what was out. It sounded like what I liked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, in other words, what I like to produce, because there was one type of music that I liked.
Right.
But then it was another type of music that I produced, because that's what makes you original. Right. You don't produce what you like, because then you'll sound like the carbon copy. And you don't want to sound like the carbon copy. So, so that's why music, like what I produce, stands the test of time. You can hear it on Tidal, iTunes, Apple Music, all that. And you can also see the different things that we're doing now. Miss Divas Comedy, that's on Vimeo on demand, that's on YouTube, that's on iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, Tidal. You can pick your favorite selections from off of that, because she's just hilarious as hell. But anyway, so we've been at, so what would you rate, I don't know. Oh, there's my paper. I found it.
Okay, but wait, so we said Nas and Rick Ross, and J. Cole, one of my favorites. He has a song on there with one of his new artists from Dreamville Records, and her name is Ari Lennox, and their song Shea Butter is on there, which is hot. And then Tessa Thompson, I didn't even know she could sing.
Tessa Thompson, Midnight.
Yeah, Tessa Thompson.
I wrote that down.
Yeah, it's on your list.
That Midnight.
She did it with Gunna. They did a song together. It's a collab.
That song right there is puts you in the feel of the classic R&B of the 90s.
Yeah.
I can't believe we say 90s R&B is classic. But anyway, the classic R&B of the 90s, it puts you right there. I would if I had my DJ set up there, I would break it out, get the 4-track, 8-track out, and start mixing it up and put that backbeat behind it and turn it into a hip hop classic. But we don't do that right now. And then I like that song called Bless Me.
Yeah, by Amalu.
Yeah. That is a nice song on there. So I picked out two there because I was in the middle of producing another image piece, and so but those two stood out to me, along with Nas and Rick Ross's song on there. But the whole soundtrack though, it's just jam. And they even have a classic. What's the Nuck to Your Buck? But it's not. That's not the song. Crime Mob. Yeah. That's right. They even have a classic Crime Mob on there. Yeah. And it's weird to listen to mastering from the 90s, from the 2000s, and then hear the mastering of today. Even though it's mastered up, it still sounds sonically. Right. It sounds a little lower than what it was. They weren't beefing up the tracks back then. They were just mastering. Now it's a slightly different process.
And then
too many secrets? But anyway,
LMA, she has a song in there called "Love Me Like That," which is hot. And then Ray Schmurner and Kodak Black, they have a song together on there, "Watching Me." Vince Staples and Ludwig Göransson has a song on there, "Ice Cold." I mean, it's just like the soundtrack is crazy. Gucci Mane. Yeah, and this is a collabo track with Gucci Mane, Ears, Quavo, YG, artist named Trouble, Juicy J, and the song is called "Fight." In that song, I was working.
It makes you want.
And then makes
you want to fight.
And then makes you want to move and stuff. And it's just that song. They chose the right title for that song, "Fight," because it pumps you up. So you can kind of picture Michael B. Jordan getting ready to get into the ring, and start fighting, because it was so smart the way they did the soundtrack, because it's just like it starts off as with the prayer right before the fight, and that's the song with Lil Wayne. That song's nice, amen, right? And then so he's in the ring, and then the song called "Fight" that I just mentioned, and then it's just like the emotional journey that he goes through in this film
is in the soundtrack.
And it's like from beginning to end. And then the one song with Nicki Minaj, A$AP Rocky, and A$AP Ferg called "Running." I mean, and then I think that's a song where you can kind of hear like the Rocky type theme like through it. Like it's just excellent film. I mean, excellent film.
Soundtrack.
I know
the film is going to be excellent.
excellent.
So you need to go to the theater and see that. Don't watch it at home. Take a group of people, enjoy it with the popcorn and the surround sound, because the surround sound is going to be sounding off.
The soundtrack is like, when you listen to it, it's as if you can visually see the film. You feel like you're watching the film, really. So Mike Will did an excellent job with the soundtrack.
Now, Watch Me is for those who are Bone Thugs and Harmony fans.
Yeah.
They have the guy from Race Murder.
Yeah.
He starts out the track, and he does the harmony type thing like what Bone would do.
Right.
But then it gets into the hard flowing like what Bone Thugs and Harmony does.
Right.
How they actually go about doing hard rhyming also.
Right.
And it's amazing. It's great. It's a beautiful piece worth listening to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could hear Bone busy on there. I could hear Lazy on there. I mean, I could hear them all on there, but definitely those two, because they come with the hard style and the quick, rapid fire flow. And so this has been robust.
Right. Well, before we
go ahead.
Wrap it up, so Creed soundtrack, Creed 2, great soundtrack, pick it up. But 2 other singles that were new. So just Gucci Mane and Kevin Gates, they have a song together called "I'm Not Going."
Great song.
It's
great
a real good song. And then Normani, her new single featuring Six Slack called "Waves." It's really nice, so check that out as well. And then Nicki Minaj has a song with Zayn, and from Zayn's album, which is also a good song. So there's a lot of good music out there. So.
Yeah.
Solange has an album that's supposed to be dropping soon.
Yeah, we'll be talking about more music, more politics, of course, movies, and the society thing within it. You know, we mix that in. But anyway, so this has been another great installment of the film review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to our minds. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And we review culture in movies, music, politics, and society. And we will see you next time on the film review.